but I'd like to localize it so that I can have some direct supervision over what is going on.
Yeah.
So do you think you might, as an example, open up, let's say, a Brewtopia over in Brattleboro? Is that something you would think about? Or when you say diversify, you're thinking of entirely different businesses?
Different businesses, probably. I mean, I'm going to try and open a business that's complementary to our business in the next couple of years here, and we'll see how that goes, and we'll see.
Yeah,
All right, great.
that's
Well,
cool.
yeah, that's great. And and I will say, when you first opened up and I went in, and one of the things that I certainly noticed, I do drink beer, like craft beer, but there's so many different kinds of craft beers, and it's impossible to know them all. And one thing I thought was great, when I walked in, you and some of your help would say, well, what do you like to drink? And, what do you like? And you directed us, or directed me to different kinds of beers that I never would have known about or even picked. So that's one of the great things about your store that I really like, the knowledge that you guys have.
Well, it's hard to know what's good. I mean, there's a lot of fancy labels out there and stuff, and it doesn't necessarily mean the liquid inside is good.
Yeah.
The other piece of it is for people like you drink hoppy beer, for instance, like IPAs and stuff like that, and if you're not rotating and checking your dates on hoppy beer, it degrades really quickly over time. So the problem you have is you have people going out to places that aren't rotating stuff quite as quickly, and the stuff doesn't taste right. It's not even close to as good. So you really have to be on the ball when it comes to the freshness of your product and what is going on with this product. So that's the big thing. I've had people come in and be like, "Oh, I tried that. It wasn't very good." I'm like, "Really? It wasn't very good? This is awesome. I don't understand how that could possibly be." And they'd bought it somewhere where it had been collecting dust on the shelf, and the hops drop out because it's a principle of homebrewing. I mean, the oils and suspension eventually drop out and they'll degrade over time, and it's just the way it goes. So
So do you have regular turnover with the beer that you have?
yeah, for sure. I mean, we check dates on it, we turn it over. I mean, the only time that we have a problem with it is through the distributors, because we have the way the beverage system is set up, it's a tiered system, so we have to buy from a distributor, and if their product is older is the only time that we have older product. We turn everything really, really fast.
Well,
Yeah.
I've noticed, in going in and buying beer also too, that sometimes the beer that I want to buy isn't available. But that is because you're in that, you have a delicate balance of inventory and age, and you want to make sure that you sell the beer that you have. You're not selling,
Exactly.
stale beer, so to speak. That's great. All right, let's move on a little bit to go on to home brewing.
Sure.
And because you do sell a lot of home brewing equipment and all the
Yes,
stuff to go on, and the history of home brewing is kind of interesting too. It's been around really for thousands of years.
Yeah, like all fermented beverages, it's been around for thousands of years. It's really whatever your main crop was in the area, and since there's yeast around us all the time, so a lot of times it would just spontaneously ferment. Somebody drank it and said, "Oh wow, I kind of like this feeling." Another interesting thing is the Vikings used to have the family brewing stick, and it was just a stick with notches cut into it, and they thought it was magic. They'd stick it in the wort or their cooked up grain or whatever, stir it around, and voila, in 4 weeks they had beer, and they were just so amazed by this. But what was really happening is by cutting the notches in the side of the wood, they were essentially inoculating that with wild yeast strands that were around them. So I mean, it's pretty crazy.
It is
Same
crazy.
thing
It
with
is
like
crazy.
homemaking mead in Africa, which is where they think the first fermented beverages come from. Same deal. Honey fell off the tree, it fell on the ground, it spontaneously fermented because there's a ton of wild yeast in honey, and lo and behold, here we are with mead, thousands of years ago.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, let's get going, kind of on basic home brewing for folks. And, I know some folks listening may be fairly familiar with home brewing, other folks may not be. So, maybe we'll kind of start in a simple sense of just getting going with kind of, basic ingredients to brew some beer and basic equipment that you might need.
I mean, most homebrewers will start with extract brewing with grains and hops. So essentially, it allows them to make it on their stovetop as opposed to have to get extra equipment. So your basic ingredients for extract brewing is a malt extract, which is dehydrated grain sugars. You have steeping grains, which is your character grains. Basically, that's where you get the sweet flavor or the bready flavor in beer. And then you have hops, which is your bitter flavor in beer. Also, you know, your floral, sort of like you drink IPAs, your citrusy flavor and stuff like that. And yeast, which, you know, is what makes the alcohol, of course. And, you know, there's different sorts of hops, yeast, and malt, and the way they're combined makes the beer that you're trying to make. I mean, for basic equipment, I mean, basic starter equipment is pretty straightforward. There's like 25 items, so, but I mean, you need a fermenter, you need a bottle capper, you need sanitizer, because sanitation is paramountly important. If you're not going to be clean when it comes to home brewing, you're going to have a problem. I mean, that's really the only big problem that people have is sanitation. As long as you're careful about that, it's really a breeze. You know, bottling bucket siphon, you know, stick on thermometers to keep track of fermentation temperature, but, you know, they're all packaged as one thing. Like, for instance, we have all the beginner homebrew stuff packaged one way, you know, and it ranges anywhere from, you know, $85 worth of equipment to $115, depending on how, you know, nice you want your starter stuff. But the good news about it is no matter what, you're always going to need that stuff forever. No matter if you go up to all grain, which is, you know, a bit harder level of brewing, but I mean, the essential steps to making an extract beer is as easy as you take a kettle, you put it on the stove, you fill it up with 3 gallons of water, you take your steeping grains, which is your character grains, you put them in a mesh bag, you let the temperature go from 0 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, you pull those grains out, you dissolve a malt extract in the liquid, you bring it up to a rolling boil, you boil hops for over an hour time period. They may be, you know, it's 60 minutes for bittering, 30 minutes for aroma, and 0 minutes for flavor and extra aroma. And then cool it down, pitch your yeast, wait 2 weeks, put it in bottles, wait 2 weeks, drink it. That's how easy it can be.
Can you, like, we were talking earlier off the air, and I was talking about Yuengling, and Yuengling is I think it's the oldest privately owned brewery or something like that. But they make a great lager, and you can't get it in here. You can get it in Massachusetts, but you can't in New Hampshire because New Hampshire just is slow with everything. But
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, but so is there a way that that you could show somebody or tell somebody how to make homebrew that was close to that?
I mean, basically, Yuengling poses a little bit of a problem because you have to lager it, which basically means cold condition it over long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
You can find clone recipes for almost anything, be it Harpoon IPA or Yuengling or anything like that, where a lot of times the brewers have given out the recipe because it's very hard to exactly emulate something completely, you know, because you have to have fermentation temperatures and everything else. But yeah, there are definitely clones out there. There are definitely things that you can do to make these beers. And if you have the ability to lager Yuengling, you can make something pretty close.
Cool.
All right, yeah, we can talk about some of the specific between lagering, kind of a cold fermentation process, and other like a quickly maturing beer, which would be a quicker fermentation process. But